Without freedom of choice, there is no creativity.
I'll go right.
It's all about the creativity. Hey, fellas, this season is going to be pretty lit. Very, very interesting, as we're going to see Jalen Brunson prove that he's an all-level scorer. You know, kind of the same aura that Melo has when he was on the Knicks, that everyone knows he could score out of the post, three-point shooter. He can take it to the rack, in the paint. He was a problem to deal with all that strength and size. And Brunson, low-key, man, ever since the, I would say, 2024, 2023 playoffs, he's been a problem in the paint. His paint scoring is crazy. Footwork is insane. And in this Mike Brown offense, I got to say, we're going to see him in his catch-and-shoot role, with Mitch getting the offensive boards, the dribble handoffs, the way he can just kill guys with the footwork. 1v1, he's still a monster, as teams have to load up in the paint. I mean, pick and roll pull-up game is insane. He did not have that in the first season he was with the Knicks. That pull-up three just coming off that pick, that shot wasn't quite falling as well as it is right now. And also, this is going to open things up for the bench players and everyone else within this Mike Brown offense, as this season we're starting to see most of the three-point shooting is not necessarily coming from Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. So in this segment, we're going to shake shit up. We're going to see Brunson scoring from all sorts of levels, and we're also going to dive deep into a nuanced conversation with this whole Amar'e Stoudemire, speaking the truth about Melo stopping the ball. Now, Jalen Brunson will still average his points, but the fact that he can mold his game and still his 25 points per game is still going to equate to the whole team having an offensive flow. So we'll dive deep into that, as Mike Brown offense is really the first time the Knicks kind of has returned to a more modern day offense ever since the Raymond Felton, Amar'e Stoudemire, Mike D'Antoni offense that we've seen hovering around that 2010-2011 season. And again, in this segment, we'll see how Jalen Brunson can still adapt his game and average the same points that he did in the past couple of seasons, while the whole team continues to have an offensive flow. The real person to be on the lookout for to see if he can make the same adjustments without it affecting his points per game is Karl-Anthony Towns. Us Knicks fans have never really seen this kind of level of just an all-around scorer like Jalen Brunson in a while, even in his catch-and-shoot pose. I was always shocked how Tibbs didn't really have JB in enough situations where he could just catch and shoot, especially when Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges had first made their appearance on the team. This had to be his MO when he first started playing in the league alongside Luka, but in the beginning of the season, we've seen him kind of a bit rusty when it came to him letting it go with these catch and shoot threes. It's almost as if he had to remind himself of what he could really do. And there was never a reason to be worried about in the first couple of games, because Brunson was definitely missing a lot of wide open threes. But once again, he does have that versatility in his game, because that was how he was able to earn minutes alongside Luka, with Jason Kidd giving him that opportunity. Now, with Mikal cooking up early this season and just Mike Brown letting him get into that bag, just sometimes running the offense, we're seeing Jalen Brunson once again kind of return to that role he had in Dallas, just being able to catch and shoot, just moving off ball. And he's always had that in his arsenal. And speaking of Mikal Bridges, not to veer off too quick, but I would love to see him work on his pull-up game. Just Bridges this season running the offense quite a bit. I would love to see him come off of screens when centers like Gobert and others are playing drop back coverage, for him to come off of this and just pull up. Brunson was definitely not on this in his first season with the Knicks, but he's added that to his bag for sure. But going back to Brunson and his all-around offensive game, this season there's going to be plenty of opportunities with Mitch Robb, with him being a havoc in the paint, just getting these offensive rebounds. And Brunson, once he starts getting more into the flow, the catch and shoot, he's going to be killing it. And it's only a few weeks into the season, and we're already seeing Brunson getting more comfortable, more into rhythm. He has more of a bop. I guess the mechanics are finally coming in. He's just getting used to that catch and shoot three in-game speed. Mitchell Robinson's offensive rebounding, we kind of forgot how it's a real weapon, because that first season that Tibbs was coaching Brunson, the Knicks didn't necessarily have a lot of shooters. but they had a lot of great offensive rebounding from guys like Josh Hart and Mitch, and they were killing it. That's how the Knicks were able to finish one of the top offenses in the league that season, despite them not necessarily having a lot of shooters. Once again, this season, Mitch stays healthy and becomes that havoc in the paint. Brunson's going to get a lot of opportunities like this in that catch and shoot role. That's sort of the beauty of Mike Brown coming to the Knicks team at this stage of where they're at. We've seen a version of the team where they didn't have the shooters. We've seen another version where they did have all the right pieces, but the coaching, the philosophy wasn't as updated. And now everything is coming together like a perfect synergy. And right here's a perfect example of it. You get the penetration, the ball movement, the off-ball movement. You got Josh Hart with the penetration right here. And check out Brunson in the corner. The catch and shoot mechanics is coming in. And this is something that Carmelo Anthony has struggled with in his final years in the league. Ever since he was in OKC, they wanted him more in that role. And then once he got to Houston, things kind of imploded because they mainly needed him in that catch and shoot role. Sometimes stars of his archetype coming from his era struggle with that. I'm not quite in rhythm yet. I need to get a few shots off my way to get into the flow of the game. But it messes up the total flow of the offense. This right here is the genius of Jalen Brunson. The fact that his offensive bag is so versatile, and it's going to allow this Mike Brown offense to get everyone flowing. And at the same time, we're not going to really see it affect Jalen Brunson's averages. There's not too many stars that have adjusted their game in this type of offense. Bradley Beal's another prime example. But check out Brunson right here, just off ball. The movement. See, another catch and shoot opportunity right here. But it takes time to get into that rhythm, to get into that flow, especially coming from last season with Tibbs just having him on ball so much. I gotta say, sometimes us New York fans, we react way too fast with the Mike Brown hiring. But when you look at his offensive philosophies, the way he had the Sacramento Kings humming with far lesser talent in 2023, them finishing at the top of the league when it came to their offensive efficiency, you can kind of see where Leon Rose is going with the vision. Because this team, make no mistake about it, defensively, we got some holes with Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns out there at the same time. Offensively, this team has to be clicking. This was the major issue from last season, and it all showed in the playoffs. The third quarter in Game 2 against the Pistons, the third quarter in Game 4 against the Pistons, scoring only 14 points, and even in that closeout Game 6 in the fourth quarter. Pistons were rallying back, even though they could not score themselves. Kay Cunningham did not even have a skilled big man off the pick and roll to work with. And on top of that, the Pistons were not even running a sophisticated offense, but yet the Knicks couldn't pull away at all, not even one game throughout that whole series. At the end of the day, we began to see the peak of the whole Tom Thibodeau Knicks experience. The final nail in the coffin was really the Game 2 against the Pacers, where they had to respond, and the offense was bleak. But I do give them credit, though, because the Knicks were a lot closer to an NBA championship than a lot of people expect, as the Pacers revealed who they really were in the NBA Finals. That team really had that shit in the bag in the third quarter of Game 4. They should have went up 3-1. But at the end of the day, Tom Thibodeau is not going to get the credit, but he did have this team very close, even with him getting no scoring production from the bench. Speaking of the Tom Thibodeau era, we forgot Jalen Brunson used to get crazy looks as teams used to load up the paint. Notice the respect level nowadays is a lot different. Teams used to load up right here because they did not respect the Knicks shooters when they had RJ Barrett and others. And with that newfound respect, remember, Brunson could really cook up. This is all his range. Again, because of the talent level the Knicks have around Brunson, teams don't load up like they used to. And this is Brunson's bag for sure. Just touching the paint. He's almost like Patrick Ewing in there. This guy is always scoring over a 50% clip when it comes to his field goal percentage. Just look at the spacing right here, for example. As soon as Brunson penetrates it, he load up the high post. Like, they just load up the elbows. But look at the shooting options. RJ, Josh Hart. Like, long gone are these days. Like, Brunson never really has no options. Look at all the defenders' attention on Brunson. Once again, teams used to load up on JB. Gets a high screen. Look at the Miami Heat players. they're respecting no one. Grimes at this point is cold. And even RJ Barrett, they're not going to respect his three-point shooting at that phase of his career. And JB pulls up surrounded by multiple Heat players. Fast forward to present day, teams really respect the Knicks shooters a lot more. Look at that. Look at all the space that JB has to operate. And this is his bag. Anywhere around the elbows, in the paint, he puts on that crazy footwork and he gets right to it. But it's a noticeable difference in the respect level. They don't load up the paint like they used to. Again, JB is a problem to keep out of the paint. Once he touches it, his footwork, this guy has so many options in his tool belt. It's crazy. Brunson could pull up from three on the dribble. Here's some more of that mid-range, him attacking the closeouts. This is his bag, man. Brunson is a low-key mid-range assassin. We've seen that in that 2024 season. Most of his points per game came around the mid-range. And when Mikal Bridges on ball more this season, he's getting dribble penetration. Brunson has opportunities to kill these closeouts. He attacks it, and he's an issue in the paint. This is his bag. This is his area. Don't let them fool you talking about the mid-range is dead. Jokic made the finals. Jimmy Butler made 2 NBA finals during this so-called three-point era. And of course, last season, SGA is a complete mid-range assassin. So the game is ever evolving, and with the floor being so spaced out, the mid-range today is actually going to be the most easiest shot to take due to all the spacing. He can also move off ball, setting screens, and look into a dribble handoff, catch and shoot three. But most importantly, all this flows within this Mike Brown offense. As right here, Ariel catches his dribble handoff. Brunson momentum is already going downhill to receive this. And you already know teams are either going to try to load up, but once again, the Knicks shooters are much more respected than in the past. And all this is Brunson's range. And let's give a shout out to the Knicks supporting cast, as they have more guys who are going to attack these closeouts. You got Josh Hart. You got even Deuce. Deuce has had a crazy bounce this season. But these guys are going to attack these closeouts, and it's going to leave opportunity for JB to be in more of that catch and shoot role. And again, not every star player is going to be comfortable with this. I seen Paul George, especially when he played alongside Kawhi Leonard, him pass up a bunch of open shots just to be in his rhythm of just bouncing the ball and taking a shot instead. Guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, even Dwayne Wade to a degree, they don't get enough credit playing alongside other stars and kind of adapting their game. James Harden when he was on the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving alongside LeBron James in Cleveland, and alongside Luka in 2024. Of course, D Wade with LeBron in Miami, I would say in the second and third year. He had to adjust himself and kind of tone down what he can do on the floor, as that was the clash in 2011 as we've seen in the finals. Interesting enough, recently Amari Stoudemire had made comments about Carmelo Anthony coming to the Knicks and it slowing down the flow of the offense, which wasn't really controversial. It's crazy how when you speak the truth now, it's a major issue. But at the end of the day, that's what really happened. And out of all people, Knicks hater Richard Jefferson kind of gave great insight to the differences of how certain star players and the points that they put up have an impact on teams. Throughout the NBA's whole history, there's only been a handful of players who averaged 30 points per game and won an NBA championship. The adaptability of stars, especially in today's era, where teams have multiple players even coming out of the bench, just contributing and playing at a high level, is very keen. That's why I stated earlier, Jalen Brunson's game and the adaptability of it is one of the best options to have in a star player today. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I think it's an observation, not a criticism. I think it's true, right? Like that is like Carmelo was a playoff player in Denver. He's been to the playoffs. It's not like his scoring translates to wins. Now the level of wins and how far they can go is one thing, but you do have to change the style of flow, right? Like same with Luka, same with certain guys that are so good, and Carmelo's one of them. You have to change the flow. Now in D'Antoni's system at the time, and the Knicks were cooking, they were like, can't we get something to add to the flow versus bringing in someone that is a flow changer, right? Rightfully so. Carmelo is that dude. So I don't think that that's a knock. I think that's an observation, right? I've seen Carmelo in the runs, right? So LA runs, Carmelo, like they're all cracking jokes about like who was going to shoot the last shot. And everybody was kind of like, it was like after the game. And like, they was like, yeah, some people, and then like 2-3 people looked at him, like kind of side-eyeing, and he just, goddamn right, I'm gonna shoot every fucking time, right? Like his mindset, even in the LA runs, were of like, I'm that dude. It's recognized. But for Amari, who played with Steve Nash, who played in the 7 seconds or less Suns, that played in that motion, the ball just keeps going. That's a very, very different thing. So I don't view that as a criticism.
No, it's not criticism. I think it's a fact. I mean, it is a fact. Playing with Alvin Gentry, who is obviously playing with Amari and Steve Nash and those teams, we weren't 7 seconds or less, maybe 10. But like the ball popping and flowing in specific spaces, and also the emphasis a little bit earlier on like threes, free throws, and layups. So think about D'Antoni, think about James Harden. James Harden is a D'Antoni guy. They are tried and true, right? Same with Daryl Morey. They are efficiency. Carmelo's like, I'm just better than you and can score 50. Fuck all this plays. I don't want to play fast. Give me the ball. Y'all go over there. When I get double teamed, then you might get the rock. But Carmelo's success is because of his skill set that allowed him to be anywhere and score anywhere on the floor.
He's also a product of his era. That's how guys played with that he pretty much looked up to. I would say guys in the late 90s, after the Michael Jordan kind of retirement phase, guys were kind of imitating what he did on the court. And it was also, kind of signs of the time. Guys had to take those kind of shots, with the final scores of these games being 89-74 or even 72-71. So Melo is a product of the era, and unfortunately, in the mid-2010s, when the game started to change, Melo did not change alongside with it, and you started to see the clash happen in OKC and eventually the blow-up in Houston. But James Harden does not get a lot of credit that when Mike D'Antoni came around, he switched up his game. And we're seeing the same evolution from Jalen Brunson coming from Tom Thibodeau to Mike Brown.
We didn't really have a lot of post plays when I was with Alvin. It was more screen and roll, and then our read is looking at everyone. So like from the top down, and then where Carmelo's like,
give me the ball,
rock, and then you stand. So your role is more of you don't get as many offensive touches. But on that team, because Amari he's very, very good on the block, but he's way better at screening and rolling, that creates so much gravity dropping the defense down, and now you get wide open jumpers.
And we're seeing a lot of the Knicks players today, the role players, they're getting a lot more touches. Most of the three-point shooting, just most of the shot attempts from three-point range are really coming from the Knicks role players, not Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson.
Melo, you like, well, I might not see this for about a quarter or two, so then I just gotta be ready.
And you guys both know this. Then because of a player's greatness and the way he plays, he is judged. Can he turn that into wins, championships? That's it. Can Kobe go be that? That's why those 2 championships after Shaq left. Can he go be that guy and score all the points? Jordan did it. So for Carmelo, it was, I think, the one thing that he's a winner from the national championship, the Olympics. You know that. But did his style of play lead to championship and championship basketball? It didn't. Now, there was draft picks with the Knicks. There was all these things, but ultimately, you have to prove that your style of dominance can translate to championship.
And we've seen Brunson's style of play switch up, coming even into Dallas with him being off ball. And now we're seeing all of that translate on the Knicks, even with the coaching change. Scoring off the dribble handoffs, the way he pulls up from 3 coming out of the pick and roll, his catch and shoot threes, him setting screens and coming off those screens and catch and shoot. I mean, him attacking, the centers while they're playing drop back coverage. Even Brunson's paint scoring. Teams are not loading up like they used to. So Brunson could get his shit off. So this guy is really scoring on all kinds of levels.
It's hard.
Which is hard to do, right? Even LeBron doesn't play that way. Think about how many players play like Kevin Durant. But even Kevin Durant was a souped-up version, and he had better teams around him than Carmelo did, right? So it's hard to compare those scores and that style of give me the ball, I'm gonna lead us.
Let me ask you a further question. SGA.
Very different.
No.
Is it?
No, it's not.
Very-
No.
is it?
Very
No.
different.
No, I'm with you.
Is it?
He's like MJ.
Yes, it is.
He's
But he plays. So playing from the post, right? Playing from the post is a lot different than playing from the top of the key, because when teams help at the boxes and elbows, he's making those shots to Chet, but he's also, number one, getting to the free throw line. He's playing faster.
He's scoring that thing.
They
He
both
is
scoring
scoring
the
the
scoring
thing.
that.
He's definitely scoring the thing, but he's also playmaking at a high level. Like, he's even trusting his teammates, even though they're missing shots. And also, he's playing great defense. That game 4 in the finals against the Pacers, SGA, his shot was not falling at all. They're about to go down 3-1 while on the road, and he locked up he got on his defensive shit real crazy. And by the time the fourth quarter came around, he not only came through with the clutch playmaking, but he also came through with the scoring. 15 points alone in that quarter. So SGA, man, these guys had a season that was really unseen since Michael Jordan with the amount of games that they won. I believe they won 84 games that whole year.
Saying
But
and
he's
he's
getting
averaging-
to the free throw line.
It
So
doesn't matter.
Wait.
And I'm also going to say this. He's won. So obviously, his shit works. It's different.
But the point is, you have to prove that your style of play can win.
Yeah.
And it's also determined by the players that you have around them. I would say that guys like Shea, Kevin Durant, they have had better teams historically
I'll give you that.
than Carmelo has, right? But that still falls on, as we've been in locker rooms with Bron and Dirk, the best players know this is all on me. Win and lose, everyone's going to look on me. So it's my job to prove that my style of play can win.
Facts. And unfortunately for Melo, his style of play kind of peaked going up against the Indiana Pacers and Paul George. A young Paul George, if at that. He had no business losing that series. And later on, we seen his style of play alongside Paul George really in the prime of his career, and Russell Westbrook, who really doesn't have a play style to win playoff games like that. But they lost to a rookie, Donovan Mitchell, in the Utah Jazz. That's another crazy loss that Melo has on his record in the playoffs.
Right? And that's the part. Shea, Carmelo, exact same. They might have Kobe, Carmelo, exact same mindset style of player.
Okay.
They have to prove that they're 30 a night, they're 29 a night leads to wins.
And sometimes those averages have to come down. LeBron went to Miami and his averages came down. And that's the most, I would say, that's the greatest stretch of success that he's had in the NBA. So his numbers came down. Same thing for Luka, same thing for James Harden. Those numbers got to come down the higher up you go when you start playing deep into April, May, and June.
Shea did it. Shea was leading the league in scoring, like all the things. Like, that's hard to do as a guard. Multiple years at that efficiency level, right? Don't tell me about free throws. Carmelo was getting free throws. Everybody was. Kobe getting free throws. Shea proved that his 30 a game is a championship 30. There's been, 4 guys in the last 30 years that have done that? I can average 30 in the season and go win a championship, win an MVP? That shit is different, bro, NBA history. Like, how many people have averaged 30 and won a championship? MJ, was he the last one? I don't know if Bron hit 30. I don't know if Kobe was averaging 30 during those 2 seasons that they won after Shaq. He might have
I
been
think
28.
all 3 of those
Kobe
were like,
was 30.
3 was.
Well, I know. I'm saying I know he hit 30, but did he average 30 the season that they won those 2
I would
championships?
say yes.
I would say no. That's what I'm saying. 30 in a championship, bro.
No.
That's different world.
27.
That's what I'm saying.
26.8 and 27.
And now, mind you, the numbers
But they
were
played a
scaled.
lot
He
more.
averaged
That 30
30.
got
Numbers
way.
were scaled differently. That's why I said Michael Jordan, Rick Barry, Kareem. Shea's in that fucking class. Now, Michael Jordan did it a bunch of times. He did it a bunch of times. That's why we look at him like the GOAT.
Right.
One thing that stands out is that some of these guys, their defense, they actually fucking play defense, even with that 30 points per game.
Shea average 30 and win 4 more championships, the conversation's gonna be very different. But that's what I'm saying. That's where I say Carmelo's a 30-point a game scorer. Kevin Durant, a 30-point a game scorer. Those guys are judged. James Harden, 30-point a game scorer. Those guys are judged differently, right? Like, that's why Bron only hit 30 a few
So what's
times.
the difference then?
What do you mean?
Like, what's the difference between Shea and Melo, other than their team? What do you think?
the playmaking, same thing for, I would say, Melo versus James Harden. James Harden was consistently at the top of his conference, making deep playoff runs. That's something that Melo cannot say the same. So there was always a second attribute to those star players. So what was Melo's second attribute outside of scoring? Once again, in that Pacers series, the real question is, why was not Delonte West, I forgot his name, D West. Why was he cooking up so much against Melo? Melo was responsible for defending him, but D West was really cooking up.
Think like,
I know. I just
or
think,
you just think it's a team?
this is what I would say. I would say that Shea proved that his 30 a game is in a class of very few people. Carmelo is the same scoring legit, and don't get me wrong, Shea's even more efficient. But I don't think Carmelo had the teams around him. But in basketball hierarchy, what did you do with what you have? We criticized LeBron for going and losing to the finals and getting swept by the Spurs when he was in fucking year 23. We can't absolve Carmelo of the 30 points a game he scored, top 10 all time in scoring, and say, hey, what did you do with that 30 for your teams? And I'll give him some, like, his teams weren't great, but
They weren't great, but that 1 year, he definitely had a better team than Paul George. And then he also had a better team going up against a rookie Donovan Mitchell, having Paul George alongside Russell Westbrook. And that was PG MVP year. He finished top 3 in MVP. So why the hell did they lose to a rookie Donovan Mitchell? Once again, there's levels to this, but Jalen Brunson in his short time so far with the Knicks, we've seen that he is a winning player. He doesn't have the Melo brand, but when it comes to winning, he's up there. He's defeated the, at the time, current reigning MVP Joel Embiid in the playoffs. You know, he's had multiple deep runs, and he even took the Knicks almost to the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe in 2024. He almost took them there, but the team was so injury riddled, but yet they still made a deep playoff run. It says a lot about the solid play coming from JB.
there were opportunities for him to go other places.
We see multiple players thrive alongside with him. Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Dante DiVincenzo, the season where he started. JB's track record shows that, you know, you can play alongside him. And now even Karl Anthony Towns.
Weren't great, but there were opportunities for him to go other places. He did have, like, again, in Denver teams, yeah, they were balling.
That was my worst.
Yeah. So then you start looking at, defensively, what was Carmelo defensively? Then you start looking at players in other spaces. So I just say the 30-point a game and win an MVP, you put yourself in the class of the Kobe's, of those. Like, there's very few people that have ever done it. We can't put Shea in the same category from, like, the winning standpoint as a team, but from a scorer, you got to prove.
Yo, who would have thought one of the Knicks' biggest haters would have a nice, honest discussion right here? RJ is definitely right. Even though I would hate to admit it from RJ, but he is on point with this. And we're seeing JB, his scoring averages is not really affected by Mike Brown's new system. And the Knicks really have a flow into their offense. It's not necessarily there yet, but you can see a lot of different players get to contribute. Shamet, Jordan Clarkson, my man Deuce McBride, he's on fire this season. You're seeing the community side of this offense because the higher up you go into April, May, winning an NBA championship is a team game. So we'll see how things play out. So far, Mike Brown, I gotta say, things are clicking right now. Eventually, the Knicks are gonna have to be having this offense click like Golden State, because defensively, it's like a game of whack-a-mole sometimes with Karl Anthony Towns and JB out there on the floor. There's nowhere for them to hide. But we'll see how it plays out. These guys have an opportunity not only to not kill themselves with the minutes per game, they can get some rest. The bench unit kind of has their own flow. And also, they could put more effort into defense, like we've seen JB and Cat do against the Boston Celtics. The hedge and recovering, just being in certain positions. These guys were very attentive on the defensive end. But it does have its limitations when you go up against the speedy, more athletic teams like the Indiana Pacers. So we'll see how it plays out. Until next time, you fellas, stay safe. Peace.